Hi, I'm Tom. This is Lucy, and this is Kitty Help Desk. So today I want to talk about a fairly serious subject. Many of you know that I haven't been posting videos for a little while, and that's because Miss Mina passed away. She had bladder cancer, and it was a tremendous loss. Such a loss that it's been somewhat difficult to deal with, and that process is ongoing, as it will be for you if you've ever lost a beloved pet, someone that was a member of your family, someone who you saw every single day. It just, you hear these words sometimes from people who have lost friends or family or pets, and you understand the words, but it can be difficult to truly take in what they mean when you haven't experienced it. And so when people say things like their loss left a tremendous hole in my life, that's real. That's something that I think I will probably live with for the rest of my life, because Mina was such an important part of my family, and had been for many years. She was 17 years old. So both Lucy and I have been figuring out ways to cope with this. And one of the ways that I cope with lots of things in my life is by learning. When I don't understand something that I'm feeling, or I don't understand a situation that I'm dealing with, I dig in and I try to learn more about it. And in this case, I read some books that I want to share with you today. And some videos too. I'm not going to share things from the videos, but one of the authors in particular, has a lot of videos available here on YouTube that I think were extremely helpful to me. So let me just talk to you a little bit about these books. The first one is one that I've actually got a video reviewing, and it's a book that was intended for children by Fred Rogers, who you probably know as Mr. Rogers, called When a Pet Dies. And this book, it's really strange. I had it on the shelf from when I had done that review. And in that review, Mina is actually sitting with me, and I really thought about her a lot during that review as I was talking about this book, because I knew that she wasn't going to live forever, and I knew she was a geriatric cat even when I was making that video. And I'm just glad that she had a happy life. And reading this book, even as an adult, was really helpful. So I won't talk a lot about this book. There, Lucy, you want to see it? I won't talk a lot about this book in this video, just because I've got another video dedicated completely to it. But I highly recommend this book to adults and to children who are dealing with this kind of loss in your family. I think this is especially important if you have a child in the family and you need to explain this kind of incident to them in a way that they can understand, in a way that helps them to cope. Because children, Julia Samuel, whose book I also have here, she has often said that if you don't provide answers to children, they will make up their own answers, and they'll often be much more difficult answers than the real thing. So it's better to be truthful with children and really tell them what's going on. So the next book that I read was this book by Wallace Sife. It's called The Loss of a Pet. Wallace Sife has been instrumental in starting the Association for Pet Loss and Bereavement. They have a website at aplb.org. I'll put the information down below in the notes for the video. But this book, the reason I found this helpful is because it was really focused on losing a pet. When you lose a pet with whom you're very close, many people don't take your loss very seriously. There are people who don't bond closely with animals and have a hard time really understanding the nature of genuine grief that's associated with the loss of this family member. And that can really make you feel less than in some ways. And what I found beneficial about this book was that it focused entirely on taking that loss seriously and addressing ways that you could cope with it. Thank you, Lucy. I love you too. And even though I found that this book was highly repetitive, he says a lot of the same things over and over in some different ways, over and over, sometimes in the same ways. But even with that sort of fault, I still recommend this book to anyone who has recently lost a pet or even lost a pet a long time ago. You know, the thing about grief that no one really explains is that it's really going to be with us forever through the rest of our lives. There is no sort of getting over it. There's this sort of cliche. People say, you know, time heals all wounds. That's not really true. What happens is we sort of get used to having that hole in our lives, and then we put some decorations around it and we dress it up a little bit, but there's still that hole there. It never gets filled in. There's never going to be another cat like Mina, even though my sweet Lucy here has been very helpful at helping me to cope, because she has become even more close to me as Mina's presence has gone away in our household. So anyway, I do recommend this book. Now the other one, and this is the one that I most highly recommend, is by Julia Samuel. It's called Grief Works. This book, it really is just a series of stories of clients. She is a psychotherapist who specializes in grief. She is in the UK, and I've never heard anyone speak about grief in quite the same way that she does. I highly recommend you seek out her videos, and she has a lot of them. Most of them are on channels that belong to someone else, or I would just link you to her channel. She gets interviewed a lot, and there are some long format videos that are an hour or more long of her discussing her work, and I found those extremely beneficial. I almost said comforting. Comforting is not the right word, because comfort is hard to come by when you think about the loss of a pet. But you know, she has dealt with a little bit of everything, and this book contains individual sort of case studies where she recounts different types of losses and talks about different individuals that she's treated and how that has happened and what those individuals' experiences have been like. And even though there's nothing about pets specifically in here, there are still a lot of small lessons in every account. Every account she reinforces with her responses to these clients and how she advises them and how she relates to them. And I've found this to be extremely moving and highly beneficial, because maybe it's because it's not someone who doesn't know me or my situation trying to advise me. You know, a lot of books are written like self-help books, like you should do X. And I don't find that to be a beneficial tone from an author. I'd much rather hear about other people's stories, and then you tell me about ways that those people have addressed their problem, And then I can come to the conclusions and cherry pick the things out of those situations that I feel could benefit me. And that's maybe just me, but I really enjoy is the wrong word, but I really found this book beneficial, and I think maybe you would too. Please don't take this 70s Sunday school looking cover to heart, because there's another cover that has sort of greenery, and I don't know where this is the worst book cover I've ever seen. Honestly, it looks like some Sunday school book from the 1970s, but this book holds great treasures within if you can get past that cover. So those are 3 books that I know firsthand. If you have other sources, people that speak on the subject of grief that you have found beneficial, I'd really appreciate it if you would, share those in the comments. It feels terribly lonely to grieve a pet in particular, because so many people fail to recognize it as a real, genuine grieving process. And even those who do, there tends to be in our society a fear of confronting death, a fear of even acknowledging death sometimes. But when it comes to the death of a cherished pet, I mean, these are beings that share huge chunks of our lives. These are individuals who know us better than we know ourselves sometimes. I mean, my cats are with me practically 24/7. And they just, there's no one else that ever watches me go to the bathroom, for example. They are just always there, always watching, always observing, and always a part of every moment. And that just gives them a closeness that no one else in my life really has. And the loss of Mina has really represented genuine loss to the degree I've never really experienced before. And so if you've gone through this too, I think that some of these books may help you. And I just want to add one other note before I let you go. And that is, there's definitely a temptation on my part to continue to produce more videos on this subject, because it's something that I'm actively dealing with. But I want you to know that I'm not going to turn this into the Pet Grief channel. I'm not going to spend an inordinate amount of time on it. But I do think it's worth acknowledging and considering. And if someone in your life has lost a pet, I certainly hope that you will give that all the consideration that it's due. So, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.